What is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. That's Dean 7904 if you want to get all technical. I mean, it's 6 o'clock on the East Coast, 3 o'clock on the West Coast, 5 o'clock Tennessee time. Of course, it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders, called Grinderslive. Joining me today, Chief Justice Will. Took a peek here at the chat pre-show. They're very excited to have you back. Me, whatever, who cares? They can take it or leave it. But they got the Chief today. You're going to a 3-game slate. We're going to talk about the body parts in a second as far as who's in and who's out, and that's obviously super important. Is it the same general approach as far as this 3-gamer? Are you going to do like the Chief style? I'm locking in these 3 dudes, and if they crush, I'm going to crush, and that's how we're doing it?
Probably so. And you know, if there's one guy that I don't like, listen, I don't mind fading bad chalk. You know it. And I think as a matter of fact, Dean, I think the last week we had a small slate together. And, Dante DiVincenzo I didn't think he was bad chalk, right? I never said he was bad chalk, but I was like, a chalky Dante DiVincenzo, just hit the X button. Worked out that time. Obviously, I took that
was KCP night. Yeah,
obviously I played some KCP. It worked. But, hey, I also played Marc Gasol, which didn't work.
Oof.
But I mean, it was fine. I don't mind taking those type of chances on 3-game slates. And the center position was kind of ugly that night. We do have some centers to play tonight. I think this is a good 3-game slate. We've got some studs. We've got some mid-range guys. Obviously, DraftKings has, priced us out of pretty much all the Clippers except maybe 2 or 3. So it should be a fun slate. I'm pretty excited.
But I think it's good they did that, because otherwise it would have just been a ridiculous slate if all the guys were the same price as they normally are. And obviously, if you guys aren't aware, you're just joining the show, just looking at NBA as far as today. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Pat Bev are all out tonight for the Clippers. For Washington, we're still waiting for Raul Neto is questionable with his groin. Christian Wood is doubtful with his ankle. We assume it's still going to be a boogie night, despite the fact he was priced up. We assume Wood's going to be out. Reggie Bullock is out with his neck. Atlanta news just dropped before this show. Trae Young, front end of a back-to-back for Atlanta. I thought they might do something with that as far as, some guys sitting, maybe playing tomorrow, that kind of thing. Trae Young's going to play with his back. He is probable. Cam Reddish is out with his knee. Clint Capella is probable with his hand. And Danilo Gallinari, he's probable as well with his ankle. 3 teams front end for what it's worth: Atlanta, Washington, and Utah. And I'm not sure if you saw this. This is kind of important. We just talked about this guy pre-show. Starting lineup for the Clippers has dropped. Ablaka, we got Nicholas Batum, the Canard Dog, Arjax, and Man is drawing the start. And he's still minimum, I believe, on Fanduel, where his price is raised in some other spots, but he could be an interesting cheapie. Jackson and Man playing alongside each other, going small.
Oh, buddy.
Are we excited?
Let me go to starstock.com and buy Terrence Mann cards before the explosion.
Let's give the people a plug, by the way. So tonight at 7:30, you're going to be on. Tambo's going to be on.
7:40.
7:40, right after lock. I'll be tilting the games for sure. I'm hosting it, and I'll be asking questions. It's what is it? I never remember the title. Card Stock After Lock. Is that what it is?
Yeah, just remember the acronym CASL, Dean. CSAL. Card Stock After Lock. Simple.
Castle? How do you spell Castle?
Dean, it's an acronym. Don't try to make this complicated, okay? It's an acronym. It's catchy. Welcome. Be in the castle at 7:40. Card Stock After Lock. CSAL. Don't make this complicated, Dean. Don't tell everybody you have a house phone, okay? Don't embarrass the phone.
There may or may not be one next. Well, there it is. There you go. Spoiler alert.
So listen. So here's a funny joke. Behind this green screen of Dean's, I gotta think, you've got an old lady back there doing crochet. If you've got a house phone, somebody's behind there doing crochet. All right, that's my joke for the day.
I got some sweaters available on Etsy if you're interested.
Mittens, quilts.
Yeah, Etsy. By the way, I like Etsy. It's a good little company. There you go. I don't know if you've ever used it before, but I bought my cup. Here you go. I actually have. This is my brand new laptop and the new cover. This is leather. Nice craftsmanship. I don't know why it happens next to me. Why am I not using my brand new laptop? I'm not sure. But
Dean makes his own covers, sweaters, quilts, hats.
And I did have this handmade too, the Gray Sports Almanac.
I know.
There you go. That was Etsy as well. Shout out Etsy. They're not a sponsor of the show. Do you know there is a sponsor actually? Prize Picks. If you guys want to play on Prize Picks, you can get the $100 deposit bonus. Deposit $100, get a $100 deposit bonus. Use the promo code Grinders. I believe we'll have this link drop it in chat as well. Just picking overs and unders. And I know you got some winners for the people. Devin's he's going to pop up on the screen. Spoiler alert, watch the screen. You got some winners and elaborate. Who do you have for us? We going over? We going under? Who we locking in?
Man, look, I mean, I'm taking RJ and I'm taking Randall tonight, both over in this game against Utah. These guys are pretty much the primary scorers for the most part for this team. And, I do like the fact that Burke comes off the bench and is able to give them a spark. But, these guys, this is the Knicks for right now until they decide what they're going to do, I guess, with Obi Toppin. Let's Obi Toppin. Yeah. Once they figure out what they're going to do with some of these young guys. But those are the two junkyard dogs. If they're going to win this game, if it's going to get done, it's going to be with them. And really their point props when I ran it, earlier today, it really wasn't that bad. Like RJ was at 16.5, I think it is. And Randall was, I think maybe around 20.5. I can't remember because it's gone up now, but I will tell you the secret here. If you want to get in on player props, if you want to make it a little bit easier,
get in early.
Yep, try to get in early. Unless it's like something with the Atlanta news, right? Like I wanted to kind of take some shots with them, but I wasn't quite sure about Trey, wasn't quite sure about Capella, so I just kind of let those go. But I felt really good about those. So if you've got a good read, like early in the day it's fantastic. Like I've seen, player props change and I'm like, yeah, this is going to be good. I got in at the right time. Especially on some of those LeBron and AD props from earlier this year, despite LeBron's explosion last night. Don't be fooled. He's been under 50 fantasy points pretty much all season.
Yeah, we had somebody in the chat pre-show talking about how we blew it last night, not talking about LeBron. And you notice all the guys that go nuts, the ones we don't talk about? He went crazy, and then revenge, whatever you want to call it, or narrative street in Cleveland. I think it was the first time in maybe a couple of years there, and he went absolutely ballistic and good for LeBron. I love LeBron, but you generally only want to play him when his price is down or when the slate kind of forces it, or if Davis is out. But we did miss that one, unfortunately. I did not see that game coming. Hey, what up, chat? Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you want to ask us some questions, Devin, fabulous multitasking producer, he's going to go ahead and pull those questions throughout the show. He's going to jump on the show his face, last 15 minutes or so, give or take. Maybe we'll give him 20. Why not? What else are we going to talk about this three-gamer? Devin's going to join the show. We'll be asking us questions. We do want to, we ask that you tell us, is it for Fanduel? Is it for DK? Is it for Yahoo? What side are you playing on? And is it for cash? Is it tournaments? Makes it so much easier, and it makes the question much more helpful. Also, we should mention tonight on FanDuel, it's still continuing. It went down last night, going down once again. Actually, put up a pretty good score in this one. The $3 NBA block entry, the FanDuel single entry series is going down. This week, it's the NBA block as far as what Rotogrinders sponsors. It's just added value. At the end of the year, you get yourself in we can't get into the whole details of this contest. It's a 3-game slate. Who has time for this? But just trust me in this. If you're playing on FanDuel, that's the first. And it's single entry. I mean, not about yourself, Will, but single entry, that's the first things I enter as is. It's my favorite kind of contest. I'm not someone that runs out 150. I know you do sometimes, or you run out maybe 20, 30, 40, whatever it is, depending on the night. Are you a fan of the single entry contest? And in general, or what are we doing tonight? What are we rolling out? There's 3 games. Are we rolling out 150 and getting every possible combination where you can't lose? I'm told Twitter says you can't lose if you run out 150. What's the strategy tonight?
Yeah, it's single entry for me tonight, man. I've got a show after this. Obviously, car stock after lock. See in the castle at 7:40. But yeah, so I honestly, it's usually what I have going on in my life that's kind of going to determine what I approach. Like if I've got time on a slate like this, I would usually 150 it for sure. Just because if you've got the right core plays. If those guys, come to fruition for you, you're really going to be in a good spot at the end of the night. So I know everybody kind of likes my lock of the day. Yeah. And I do typically have one on FanDuel. I don't think I have a true lock currently because obviously single entry. So I didn't really decide, this is a guy I'm going to just straight up, play in every lineup. But I do feel really good about Julius Randle slate to slate, right? And look, he is going to be high owned at 45%. But if I was going to lock one guy at the power forward position, because I don't feel like power forward's really strong tonight. You got John Collins at 74, but with Capella coming back, I don't like it. I don't feel like he had the same upside. Serge at 58, it's fair, but 5,800. Serge could get 40. Don't get me wrong. but I'm still really on the fence about the minutes he's going to play. I'm just not sure. We've got him projected at 28. We've got Marcus Morris projected at 30, and we've got Tom Thibodeau as the coach of the New York Knicks. Like, there's no more safety you're going to get at this position than Julius Randle. So he would probably be my lock button, even though he's high on. Like, he's pretty much the safest play on the board to me tonight. And that's kind of what I would do. I don't like Trey at 10-6 tonight on FanDuel. I don't like it. I almost feel like I would hit the X button on Trey. Yeah, I know they're playing a shorthanded Clippers team, but at 10-6, like if it's a blowout in any direction, Trey doesn't get there. And we've only got him projected for 42 fantasy points. Raw points do matter on a 3-game slate. They matter. But I think I can make up the difference with, Russell Westbrook, with a John Wall. I think I can just make the difference up. So I don't feel like he's a guy I have to play. So I think if I had a lock button, I know I kind of went all around the world on that. But on FanDuel, this is FanDuel specific. Julius Randle lock. Trey, I think I'd be hitting the X button at 10-6.
Just want to say about Trae Young, a couple things. He's much better suited on DK as far as a scoring system. And I went in and pulled up the court IQ. And some guys are just basically the same, but just the way Young plays, he turns the ball over a ton, right? He turns the ball over a ton. You lose a point on FanDuel, lose a half point on DK. And he also hits a fair amount of threes. You get a 3-point bonus on DK. You don't get it on FanDuel. And for that, you put those two together. Young this year, 499 minutes, 1.25 fantasy points per minute on FanDuel, as opposed to 1.33 on DK, which is one of the more drastic players. And also the price is more appealing over there as well. That said, 3-game slate, Young has the ability to put 40 real life points in the bucket, and people aren't going to be playing him for the reasons I just said. And also he's kind of expensive. And, the Clippers, we think of them as a solid defensive team, but they're going to be without Kawhi. They're going to be without George. I don't know Man's defense ability off the top of my head, but it just feels like no Pat Bev, right? Pat Bev's always a solid defender still. We're talking about the Kennard dog and Arjax and Batum, who's like, was so dusty a couple years ago there in Charlotte. I know he's having a resurgence here. Good for him. But, it just feels like, and also they're 5-point favorites for what, it's all kind of reflected there in the fact that this Clippers team is just the Clippers in name only. So I think he's interesting in tournaments on FanDuel. And on DK, I think he's a really strong play. And, I haven't refreshed my stuff. And I haven't made any lineups pre-show. We were talking about this. You haven't made any lineups because you're just waiting for news. And what's the point of making if you're just going to etch a sketch and just scramble it up and start all over again? And it all dropped right before the show started. So we're going to be in scramble mode post-show, obviously. But
well, let's talk some strategy, Dean, on that, about how we get around some of those problems. And it's not rocket science. But if you're interested in multi-entry, and this is every slate, this isn't a 3-game slate, a 7-game slate, this is every slate. Go ahead. On both sites, you can reserve spots. You don't have to put a lineup in. You can reserve it blank, right? Go ahead and do that. What I like to do is separate my single entry style, cash style play from my GPP play. So if I know I'm going to run 150 lineups in this contest or that contest, I reserve those at 150, and then I'll make a dummy lineup for all my single entry. I'll export my CSV, load it up into my Microsoft Excel spreadsheet or your Google Sheets, whichever one you choose. And then I'll, go ahead and clear out my single entry because I know I've already made a dummy lineup. I know that's what I'm going to do. Cut, paste to the top, and then now I'm set, right? And I don't have to do anything. I'm set. I'll go ahead and open a new sheet, have that sitting there ready to go, and I'll have some bills ready, right? And I say, okay, if I'm down to crunch time, let's say we're about 30 minutes out now, 15 to 30 minutes out. I know if SBK comes in, Devin, please let me know. I'll say, okay, this is my build. If this guy plays, this is my build. If this guy doesn't play, and at least now I've got 2 sets of builds that I feel comfortable with. And if the news breaks the way I want it to break, I say, okay, this is the build I'm going with. I load it up, export the CSV, go, downloading the template at FanDuel, and I'm ready to go. If the guy is in and out, I have both bills set up, ready to go. That way I'm not in a pinch right before a lock. So, hopefully, that helped you guys. But if you want to multi-enter, I think that's the optimal strategy. You need to be ready to go at all times. Don't have to open all these tabs 5 minutes before the slate locks because anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I've had somebody give me that tutorial before and show me how to do it, and I'm just not very savvy with it. Unfortunately, I've not yet figured that out. So, and I just hand build everything as is, or I just will fire 20 and just do it that way, and actually do it, not reserving, just kind of save those 20 and import it. But Yeah, that skill is for whatever reason I've yet to acquire in DFS, and maybe I'm better suited just staying in my lane of, hey, let's just play 5 or 10 handcrafted lineups and just go from there. But yeah, that's great stuff. I mean, that's obviously very, very important, and I think it's a great skill to have in your bag. And unfortunately, mine's not there just yet. But one of these days, I'll figure out how Excel works and technology. That's it. Speaking of technology, I think am I hearing noises, or am I hearing a microphone? Am I hearing SBK lurking in the background? I'm not. I'm just hearing things apparently. Well, there you go.
D's hearing aid is acting up, people.
It's the crochet. I hear crochet going on in the background. That's what's going on for sure. Maybe SBK is going a few minutes late because the lineup HQ team is all over the Atlanta news. I imagine. I think they are adjusting. It looks like I'm giving a refresh as far as what we have as far as the Atlanta projected minutes with all the guys in, and I guess just Reddish. Let's see what we have here. This looks legitimate. This looks reasonable to us. Hunter went off last game, but of course, someone's usage is going to get taken eaten away with with Young back. Collins had a big game too, but he's going to play last 5. You already talked about that. The Hunter price is priced up a little bit too much. Oh, here we go. I was killing time, and here we go. It's SBK. Keach, talk to me about the Atlanta Hawks. I guess you just finished it. What do we have? Do we feel confident as far as projecting the Hawks tonight?
Well, I've actually been spending more time on the Clippers since and then the last 10, 15 minutes. But yeah, I mean, Atlanta's not too difficult, I guess. We do have Clint Capella, we do have Trae Young, so that kind of helps make things a little bit easier. No Cam Reddish. But I mean, things aren't really too out of flux here. I mean, we still have Capella, Young, DeAndre Hunter, and Kevin Huerter all at 34 minutes. John Collins at 31. Danilo Gallinari at 19. So I mean, the rotation is not really too out of flux from where it typically is.
Yeah, I guess I sort of killed the lead. The Clippers is probably the better place to start. No Kawhi, no Paul George, no Beverly. Roughly 100 minutes or so out of the lineup. We have. I think this is kind of a surprise. Were you projecting Terrence Mann to draw the start?
We had kind of talked about him as potentially being that 5th option there. He is obviously in the starting lineup now. I think if you are looking at lineup HQ at the moment, I think we still have him at 23 minutes, but that's coming up to, we're kind of still in the process of discussing it. Very likely either 27 or 28 minutes, and that change should drop in the next minute or two. So a heads up for people that are looking at lineup HQ now. But yeah, I mean, not terribly surprising that he's going to draw the start. I am curious to see if they kind of push him for if he does end up seeing, 30 plus minutes potentially. But I think regardless, if he's in that 27, 28 range, he'd still be a pretty strong DFS target.
Yeah, especially on Fanduel, where I believe he's 3.5, 4.4 on DK. Morris is the best price guy on DK, probably. At least he was not too long ago, but he's coming off the bench now. We're still seeing 30 minutes. Is that going to go down, you think, a few minutes? Or we think he's going to play about, 27, 28, somewhere around there? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I would say between 26 and 28 will probably be where we land. I think a couple of the minutes that are going to be shaded 2-man will come from him.
Yeah, and Jackson drawing the start. I mean, this is a guy that was a DNP CD for several games this year. We did see him, through injuries, he would start the second half, things like that. He's a pretty reasonable fantasy point meta player. DK ain't messing around. 6.8K. I mean, that's really, really tricky to make work, and I'm probably not going to get there, but he is 5K on FanDuel. Do you have any other general thoughts as far as the Clippers and their minutes here? We were talking, I don't know if that was pre-show or it was on the show, as far as Ibaka versus Zubac. Your thoughts there, or just any other general thoughts you have as far as the Clippers and where you're projecting minutes to go?
I mean, let me take a look at exactly where we have the Clippers now. It's not totally set on where it will be, just given the man changes. We have Reggie Jackson at 30 minutes. I mean, the price on him, not terribly cheap. But he is averaging about a fantasy point per minute in, I guess, about 70-ish minutes with no Kawhi, no Beverly, no Paul George. Serge Ibaka up a tad from where we typically have him at 28 minutes. Then we have Nick Batum at 34. Luke Kennard, who's actually been a pretty high usage guy with these 3 off the floor, 32 minutes. And then Lou Williams, who's a pretty interesting X factor, I think, at 25 minutes. So that's kind of where we have things at the moment. But again, those things will change probably slightly over the next minute or two.
Yeah, we'll get you out of here in just a second and let you talk with Tuttle, Jamino, Alan. I don't know who else is working on projections with you today, but Washington, this is a tricky one, right? Where are we projecting? This Washington Houston game as is. I said, I guess the one that I'm really curious about is John Wall. How many minutes are we going to project for Wall? This is a first blood revenge game. They totally babied him the first time back. I have to think he's going to get at least 30. Looks like we're looking at 33. That feels, 33 minutes at 6.9K. We can actually say it, not just that is for sure nice, right? Like if that's what we're talking about, 33 minutes.
Yeah, it is for sure nice. Again, for the revenge folks out there, obviously Wall played his entire career pretty much besides this year with Washington, so that's kind of another interesting nugget. But yeah, we expect him to kind of be unleashed a little bit. Both him and Oladipo currently at 33 minutes right now. So DeMarcus Cousins at 32, who some sites, DraftKings specifically, I don't know why they've spent time fixing everybody else's price, but for some reason left him at 6K. So that's Houston for tonight. That should be a very interesting matchup, though. I'm curious to see the Washington side too. I don't know if it's because it's been like a couple of weeks since they played one game. Obviously, they played that game at the Spurs, but beyond that, missed some time. So I'm curious to see what they're looking like. We have kind of Jerome Robinson and Isaac Bonga kind of somewhat in the fold now, which wasn't really the case prior to them being shut down for COVID. So a couple interesting things to watch out for there. Raul Neto is the only guy with the questionable tag left on this slate. If he sits, Garrison Matthews might play the next couple minutes, but there's really no DFS impact there, or at least not much of one.
Yeah, I would say it'd probably be a slight hit to Matthews. Maybe you don't need him nearly as much, but we have him projected right now for 26 minutes. All right, let's get you out of here. We kept you long once again. My apologies, but all right, I'm going to be hitting the refresh button for sure, see if anything changes as far as lineup HQ. But the late game is the kind of the most predictable one as far as the minutes. But we'll talk about that with Will. Thank you, SBK, and good luck tonight. Hopefully you crush it.
Thanks, fellas. Have a good one.
Well, let's just talk about that real quick as far as New York, by the way. I don't know if you saw the rotations last game with the Knicks, and Elf Payton played the entire first quarter, the entire third quarter, 0 of the second, 0 of the fourth. Quickly played the entire second quarter, then got the entire fourth quarter, and he smashed. He was great, 24 minutes apiece. And we talk about this all the time. Like, I don't really know when that's going to happen. It's hard to predict when that's going to happen, but Quickly is the future. And Elf is a free agent at the end of the season, and I would think they would want Quickly to rise, and eventually I think he's going to start at some point. I don't know how to say, well, tonight's the night that Quickly is going to be the better player, but Utah, historically is a team you shoot over, right? You get him on the outside, and Elf is not a good shooter. He's bad, right? And Quickly is a much better shooter from the outside, so I would think he would have a better chance in thriving in this matchup, but I don't know how much we need to even guess. But if you're going to force me to guess, it feels like a better chance for Quickly to survive in this matchup than Payton. At least that's my thoughts.
Well, I'm with you, Dean, but I've also seen reports, and this is something I read over, that good old Tom is interested in having Quickly and Payton play together. So I read that in an article, the other day, and I was thinking, oh boy. This is getting a little for the one team that I felt like I knew exactly what was going to happen every night. I just know what's going to happen with Randall, and I know what's going to happen with RJ. And these other kind of, I don't want to call them fringe guys, because Quickly does have stable minutes, and Payton does have stable minutes, but we just don't know when one's going to play 30 and one's going to play 25 and one's going to play 24, and the other's going to play 24. Now you've got Alec Burks back in the mix. He's going to play at least 25 minutes. So,
Rivers.
Yeah, and Rivers is coming back tonight. So the guard play, it's really interesting for a guy that's, giving us stable minutes across the DFS streets for pretty much his whole coaching career. I'm with you at some point, Quickly probably does kind of become the guy. Frankie Nicotine is still out. He'll be back at some point. It's going to get real interesting. But and that's why I don't mind playing Randall and RJ. I do think Quickly's okay on DK, though, at 5,200. That's an interesting slate. Like, he's a guy who can get you 40. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because I'm looking at him right now, and I'm looking at the guys in that range, and it gets bad real fast. So he's definitely a guy I think you may want to consider on this slate. And I'm not saying everybody's bad. Like, I like Lopez, I like Zubac, but Quickly definitely has some upside here.
For the record, as we're in a Curie here, and Quickly and Payton this season have played 22.3 minutes together so far. But yeah, I mean, but maybe that's just coach speak, but I didn't see that note, but that's weird. That's interesting. Okay. Well, I don't know why they would do that, but fair enough. Hey, he's the coach and I'm not. Hey, Boogie Cousins got a price bump, but I don't think it was high enough. Was it high enough for you?
On DK, he's probably going to be massive chalk. On Fanduel, he is over 7, which, I mean, look, the salary cap structure is a little bit different. The position flexibility is a little bit different as well. But Boogie's still a better play on DK. Now, on Fanduel, that doesn't make him a bad play. I still think he's in play for sure on Fanduel at that, slightly over 7K price, especially with center not being completely strong. I do think on Fanduel, Capella's been, Joel Embiid, Andre Drummond, Nikola Vucevic, all into one the past 2 or 3 games. Is he going to continue playing 38 minutes? I don't think so. I don't see how that's possible. But I mean, he got it done against Minnesota in 30 minutes. Now that was a 10-block game. But
that's Naz Reid.
Right. You're saying, 10 blocks. But hey, 5 blocks the game before, 3 blocks, 4 blocks. Like, he's got block and steal potential. He's got stocks, is how Dean would call it. And he's been pretty consistent in giving us numbers in those categories most games. So I still think he's got some upside here. Coming off injury, I think he's going to be, I don't think people would want to play him over Boogie. I don't. But at 10-5, a guy that could get 60, 70, he's a really good tournament play on FanDuel. I do not like the price. But, man, if he drops another 70 bomb, you may need him to win a GPP.
100%. Yeah. And Cousins, you project about, 30, 31, maybe 32 minutes, 1.41 fantasy point minutes on DK, 1.37 on FanDuel. It's just another, the math checks out. He's still a really, really strong play. And as far as the center pivots, they're not very strong outside of, let me just kind of pull up our ownership projection stuff. I mean, I have FanDuel up right now. Obviously, there's positional flexibility more so on DK, but we have Capella at 15%, Cousins at 58%, Gobert at 13%, Mitchell Robinson at 9%, who you catch him on the right night, you can get, 7 stocks. Otherwise, it's Zubac and Land and just a bunch of guys that the floor is low, and the price on Zubac's not very good at 5.3. Len's not even stone min, and he might play maybe 15 to 20 minutes or so tonight. Traditionally, a decent, he can hit threes, he can block shots and grab boards. So he's a guy that can get fantasy points, but, the floor is obviously pretty low. Bradley Beal, we should be talking about him tonight, right?
Absolutely, man. Bradley Beal's been fantastic. If this team was winning more games, he would probably be in the MVP discussion. Single-handedly trying to drag this team to wins. If he keeps up this scoring output, he's definitely going to win the scoring title. But, I mean, look, he's got to go through it the whole season. But he's a fantastic player. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him. He's always a guy that I like to play on slates like this, especially if it's an up-tempo. If the game stays close, he's got 60-point upside easily. The guy's just a sniper, man. And not only that, his game has changed a little bit since he started playing. So you remember, let's go 3 years ago, he was a guy that you looked at the points and you said, okay, he's got 50 fantasy points. He's got 40 real points.
Yeah.
And that was Bradley Beal. But now, if he has 50 fantasy, he could have 28 real points. Rebounds are there. Assists are there. And that's all we can ask for when we're paying up for a guy that's going to get the real points, but also hit the peripheral categories. And even when Russell Westbrook's there, he's still hitting the peripheral categories. So I like it a lot.
I'm pulling up the Clippers here. I'm going to kick some guys off the court. I'm using the court IQ. We want to kick Paul George off the court. We want to kick off Kawhi and Beverly, right? And
You're going to be shocked.
What's going to shock me here? Let's see. As far as fantasy points per minute, well, I mean, 3.5. That's the problem. Is the sample so small because these guys rarely play. The Clippers almost always one of those guys is out there. Ibaka in 3.5 minutes can't do anything with that, but 1.83 fantasy points per minute. Zubac 1.11 in 45 minutes.
Oh yes, and I think that's real. I think that the Zubac, the Reggie Jackson, the Kennard are probably the most closely correlated numbers that we have because of the minutes. And Zubac didn't play a whole lot of minutes with or without them last year anyway. Like, this is pretty much who he is. And he's not going to play 30 minutes. He's probably going to play like 25, 26 minutes. Reggie Jackson may get 30 to 35 minutes this game. But 0.92, that feels about right, especially looking at the minutes. Luke Kennard at 58.6. I know it seems small, but if you think about how many games that is, if he's playing, Luke Kennard's playing, about 20 minutes a game, roughly 20 to 25 minutes. And so you got to think most of those minutes are without them anyway. So I think these numbers are really, really close.
I just read in the chat, somebody said Sweet Lou said he's going to go ham today. Isn't Lou in it? This is his home. Is this his hometown where his wings? Do you think he stopped?
Oh man, Lemon Pepper Lou. Lemon Pepper Lou will be in full effect, people.
Is that his nickname, or you just made that up, or is that his favorite flavor of wings?
No, that's his wing flavor.
I've never heard that movie. I wasn't aware. Okay.
I think it's barbecue lemon pepper or something, from his fantasy land out there in Atlanta.
Do you think he really believes? Is this just what he tells somebody? Like, do you think he really believes that's the best wings available? Like, those are just they just happen to be.
I think so. I don't listen. If you couple the wings with the experience for the guy, they probably are. It's an atmosphere thing.
You gotta round up, is what you're saying. But you think Ibaka and Zubac can play together? I just ran it. They played 1.7 minutes together this season. So I'm trying to picture the possibility of those two guys playing together tonight.
I think they could. I'm not saying they're going to, but I think with the shorthandedness of the team, they may have to at some point. Like it may. Well, then again, I don't know, Dean. Honestly, it might. You might be right on that. I hate to change my thoughts right on the show, but I'm just kind of looking at this lineup here. If they take out Ibaka, maybe they put in Zubac. They still got Lou Williams. They still got Marcus Morris. They still got Patrick Patterson. Mm-hmm. They probably won't play as much together. The more I think about it, it's probably one of the other most of the game.
Yeah, I'm curious now what we have as far as projections. Maybe they total 48. Let's see what we have here. We got Zubac for 22, and we have Ibaka for 28. So we have him crossing over for 2 minutes, which that's fair. Give a wiggle room there. I see some questions getting fired in. Devin's going to join us in just a second. He's going to fire up a bunch of questions for us that have been compiled throughout the show. I don't know, Devin, you want to jump on and just let's give some extra FaceTime to the D-Train? Devin, what's up? Are you prepared for this?
Now I am. Yeah. How's it going?
How's the show going so far, Devin? Scale 1 to 10?
Well, I think we're working around the 7 to 9 range, but we'll knock out some questions and we'll get that.
You're giving the Lou Williams like rounding up.
Get that up to the 10 there.
I guess I'll handle like the cash stuff, and Will's gonna handle the tournament stuff. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I'll handle on both sides, and I've been building as we've been going anyway. Oh. So I've got a pretty good handle, especially on DK right now. And I'll just kind of kick this off, Devin, before we start, because this may be one of those swap questions like Randall or Capella, like especially if you're trying to play double center, because I don't think you can get all three unless you fade Trae Young, which, you know what? Never mind. I think I just figured it out. I'm going to fade Trae Young and play Capella.
Wall's the best play on DK, right?
What's that?
I mean, Wall and Cousins are the two best plays on DK.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the way you want to go.
Yeah, I can't see them only giving Wall like 26 minutes against his former team. Like I feel like they let him go. I know last time they played him like maybe 10 or 12 minutes in the first half and maybe 24 total. That was his first game back from injury, but I can't imagine they just let Wall sit there for 25 minutes. They got to let him go. That's just sort of my thought process. But
we have him at 33 Devin. In lineup HQ.
Yeah, and then I think that's. Yeah, I would 33 minutes. Forget it. Just a lock button. I mean, for me on DK, like that's just too good. I would love to get 33 minutes there versus Washington. Come on, that's a phenomenal matchup. Devin, fire away. What do you have for us?
I was just gonna say, I think I might be putting Capella in on my Fanduel single entry series lineup. $3 entry. You guys should join in on that.
Hey, you're going to be contrarian, Devo. I'm telling you, like Capella's projected at 15. Cousins is projected at 58.
Yeah.
That tells you all you need to know.
It's going to be crazy.
You can go Chalk City the rest of the way if you want to.
Yeah. All right, let's start with David. We have a couple of strategy ones thrown in on here, but we'll start with David.
Strategy. Let's go.
FanDuel single entry GPP. Do I lock in Lynn or Lopez if I'm fading Boogie?
Neither.
Deadhead wants to know who's your favorite punt on DK.
Jerome Robinson.
I like that one. Yeah. Al, on shorter slates, does a single entry type lineup apply to a multi-entry tourney? Better odds?
I
think maybe
not really.
logic would be let other people make mistakes, but
Yeah, there you go.
K-Mac, Jordan Bell or Isaac Bonga, both former Lakers FanDuel tournament.
Neither.
Bell. How many minutes do you think Jordan Bell's going to play tonight? What am I missing there? Is he somebody you consider, Will?
Nope, not at all.
Well, you got him projected for 4 minutes for the record.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless that's too ambitious for me.
I think we can do better. That's why I'm saying that. Like,
Yeah.
I really do.
All right.
I played Royce O'Neal before I played Isaac Bonga, for the record.
Royce.
Nobody likes playing Royce O'Neal.
Yeah, said no one ever. Let's go with E Paradise DK tournament. Super stacking one game. Is that a good strategy for tonight?
Yes.
Just locking in.
As a matter of fact, let me clear that up. Since
If
we're
you
not
do
in
that, which game is it?
Yeah.
Since we're not in lightning round, the strategy on small slates is the game stack. Just so you know, there's and if I'm not mistaken, there's slate IQ findings to prove this. If it's a small slate, the big game stack is the way to go. I think if I was going to stack one, it would probably be Washington Houston on DK. Washington Houston on DK. On FanDuel, I do think it's the Clippers Atlanta.
First game.
For what it's worth.
Just throwing it out there, like, you know, there's nothing sexy about New York and Utah. It's like the constants. It's like they're just sort of, it is what it is. The most predictable minutes. Utah, we didn't mention Mitchell. We barely mentioned Gobert. I might have mentioned Gobert's name in passing. You mentioned Randall, but we haven't talked about those guys. And for good reason, but like they're all still like, why can't Mitchell put up 50 fantasy points tonight? Well, like, why can't he outscore Oladipo by 15? Like that, of course, can happen. And I imagine the ownership stuff's reflecting. It's hard to hide on a 3-game slate, especially when you're, you know, the name of a Mitchell, the name of a Gobert. But I think the ownership will reflect in comparison to the other games. I'm just kind of pulling it up here on the fly as far as those games. Do you have thoughts? And this is the hammer, right? It's the last game on the slate. There's nobody in, nobody out as far as we know outside of Reggie Bullock. But it's just it's not a sexy game. Clarkson is, you know, kind of priced up, and we got Jingle and Joe back, and Utah is like the most boring, predictable rotations. They just kind of are what they are.
The only
Thoughts
guy
on
I'm
this
afraid
game?
of is Julius Randle, and that's why I'm playing him on DK and most of my other lineups. I'm not really afraid of anybody else in that game.
Randall seems great. That price tag is the only thing that would keep me from.
But see, that's the thing. I'm playing him on both sides. But it's the same reason I'm playing Capella on FanDuel, or I'm thinking about it. It's the same reason I play Randall on DK. The guy's probably got some of the highest upside on the slate. Some, not all, some. But he's going to be a lot lower owned today because of the price tag.
Yeah.
But he's got the most stable minutes of anybody on the slate, really. I think I'm playing, just full disclosure, right now, I'm playing Randall, Boogie, and Capella on DK. I have all three.
Woo. All right.
So-
There's your stack. Eric wants to know, do I play PJ Tucker DK tournament?
I mean, you're not supposed to.
Not if you can help it. Not if you can help it.
Not if you can help it. I like it. Smash that like button if we get your question in. Legit asks Alex Lynn at 3,300. How many minutes do you think he's getting with Bryant out and Lopez starting?
16 to 20.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Man, if you guys could high five right now, I'd tell you to high five. Eric asking another one. Fade Cousins for Gobert on DK.
No.
All right.
Oh, cash or tournaments though.
I would
feel like
assume.
I'm
I would assume
taking
that's
all the
tournament.
questions.
I would assume
Okay.
that's tournament. Corey asks, since there's no slate IQ for FanDuel on a 3-game slate, theoretically, how many is too many for a game stack? I.e., Beal, Westbrook, Robinson.
Say that one more time.
I think it's how many players would you take from a game stack, and how many is too many from a game stack?
I mean, on a 3-game slate, I don't mind going almost the whole game.
Yeah.
Outside, 1 or 2 players, that matter to me. Like whatever fits.
All
I just
right.
want to jump in for a second. We haven't talked about Westbrook at all, and somebody's talking about Westbrook. Is he dusty? What are you doing with Westbrook tonight, Will? Because I feel like he's going to be people are going to play Beal first, right? Like that's what's going to happen in that team, and they're probably not going to play both. So he's going to be as lost as he can be on this slate. Westbrook,
Right.
folks.
Yeah, I don't like the price on Westbrook overall, but it's kind of the same reason I would play Capella tonight. Like you're getting a little bit different for a guy that's got ceiling and floor comparable to most of the other studs you're going to play. And that's the reason I think you play Westbrook. If Westbrook gets 35 minutes in this game, you tell me he can't get 60 in this spot against Houston. I mean, yeah, it's just a raw points. let's get a little bit different with a little bit of leverage on the slate where, it's just kind of the ownership game on that one.
I got a note, by the way, just on Twitter, Labs just dropped. Westbrook will have a minutes limit in the mid-20s, so you can't play him. I mean, he's priced for a guy playing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can if you think he's going to be absolutely insane from a efficiency perspective in 25 minutes, but there's no chance I'm playing him. How about that?
Yeah, no.
And Howell
I
Neto
wouldn't play him for mid-20s minutes, not for mid-20s.
Howell Neto is available, but will have his minutes limited, which they would anyway.
Jerome Robinson, people.
There you
Jerome
go.
Robinson.
Pap
0.7 fantasy points per minute. Robinson, he can get there if he plays 30 minutes or so. Go ahead, Devin.
Pap wants to know, what do you think about Tate starting for Houston? That might have been an earlier question.
Yeah, we got Wall, Oladipo, Tate, Tucker, and Boogie Cousins drawing the start there in Houston. There's a lot of bodies. I think it's worth noting. Daniel House is back. Gordon, Ben McElroy, Nawaba, Brown, Jones got some run. KJ Martin had an incredible block of Boban last game. Houston's got tons of dudes, which makes me less interested in a guy like Tate.
They also have a guy named Broderick Thomas.
I don't know who that is. I'm not sure that, I know Kurooks. I don't think he's going to play, but yeah. What are your thoughts there, Will, as far as the fringe Houston guys?
Yeah, not a whole lot of fringe. Let's just play the guys we know. Jeff Johnson, the name you know. If you don't know, that's an Eddie Murphy reference from a movie called Distinguished Gentleman. Go check it out. Another one of his classics, by the way.
Coming to America 2. Is Coming to America 2 going to be terrible? I'm afraid it's going to be terrible. It's PG-13 and it's 20 years.
I don't listen. That's my favorite movie of all time, so I'm not sure if it's going to whether it's terrible or not. I have to watch this. I've watched Coming to America at least 100 times in real life, at least. It's my favorite movie.
Favorite line? What's your favorite line from Coming to America? You can say on these airwaves.
I was going to say, hang on.
I think so I've got a ton of favorite lines, right? Because some of these I plug in, but they're like sneaky ones. Like, I am General Easy, and I present my daughter for your son. Like, that's funny to me. Son, I assume you had sex with your bathers. I know I do. Like, that's a funny one. Let's see what else. Oh, that's that one. Rocky Marciano. Right? He kicked Joe Louis.
He was 147 years old.
Joe Louis was 137 years old. I talked to Frank Sinatra. And Frank told me, Joe Hunter, you ain't talking no Frank Sinatra, man. Like, I love that movie, man. A whole bunch of classic stuff.
Devin, have you seen Coming to America?
I have, actually, yes. It's a 3-game slate, you can tell, because we're talking about Coming to America.
The chat, tell us your favorite line for Coming to America that's going to pass the standards.
Hit that like button.
Hit that like button for Coming to America.
I hope it's good.
Derek wants to know, who are Chief and Dean's guys tonight for DK?
Oh, man.
I think that was
for me?
Randall
it's
for
Capella.
you.
It's Capella and Randall.
I said like 5 guys last night were my guys.
Yeah,
and
you
I
built a
said,
lineup.
But I said Gordon Hayward, Enes Kanter, Bam Adebayo. If you would have played that lineup, I didn't because I just had to jam in Dwight Howard. Who's my guy this evening? I think it's Wall. I think it's John Wall. Is that too chalky? It's probably too chalky. Maybe I'll come up later in the show.
Right.
That's not too bad. All right, let's see. Smash that like button. Dovey wants to know, what about Zubac on Fanduel single entry tonight? Tournaments.
I don't like the price over there.
Oh man, that's a tough one for me because I think there's enough value. I think there's better value in other spots.
Yeah.
So I don't think you take Zubac over Boogie or Capella. I don't think you do it.
K-Town's finest on DK. Do you guys have any love for John Collins?
I don't like Collins today, but that's just me.
Well, yeah, Capella being back and he's not going to play the 5 nearly as much. It pushes down his upside for me. Yeah, even Gallinari is available too, which probably hinders his minutes to some degree. I'm not in on Collins unless whatever. I'm not planning on playing him.
After every question, we have to get a Coming to America line. That's a collection plate, man. I thought it was the track. All right, go ahead.
That's hilarious. It's just been bubbling under the surface for Chief.
Oh, somebody said it. Definitely good. There you go. They're all over.
That's hilarious.
Here we go.
Randy Watson.
Let's see. Doofin wants to know, Gallinari or Royce?
I think I would play Royce. She's your queen. All right, we'll get the rest of the song
That's
later.
hilarious.
All right,
If you're a prince, I'll marry you.
Smash that like button for Coming to America.
Yes.
Donnie Watson asks, in DK 3-entry max, if Morris is still going to be popular, do you like the leverage Batum gives?
Yeah, are people jumping away from Morris because he's not starting? Because I think he's still a fine play unless I'm missing something. On DK.
On DK, I don't like it.
No?
Because they're saying playing Batum. What? Essentially, the Clippers are all really, really, really strong tournament plays on DK because the main guys are overpriced, right? They're so overpriced. Yeah.
But Morris is 4.7, and he's got the most reasonable price, but he is coming off the bench. But I still, like, he's protected for 27 minutes. You know, with everybody out, he's probably going to be close to a fantasy point per minute. What's going on?
My name is Peach. Anyway,
all the DJs.
Oh, I was ready for it. All right.
And your friend, too.
Let's see. Smash that like button. We got a few more minutes left. We'll squeeze in a few more.
You think Louis Anderson's going to be back for the new think he was available?
Now I'm on lettuce.
What?
Then I'll be on fries.
Samuel Jackson going to make an appearance?
Yeah, I think they're all going to be in there. All right, Devin, how far are we from like lightning round?
Well, we got like maybe 3 minutes left until locks, or until we got to get out of here. So we'll go.
We're on lightning round.
We'll hit some lightning round.
I'll pull out some more Coming to America later.
There you go. On our way out. Mr. Donk asked DK, out of Capella, Gobert, and Cousins, how many times out of 10 is Cousins third in raw points here?
Let's go 3.
All right. Ryan, on DK for a tournament, can you play Westbrook and Beal?
No.
Julian wants to know Batum or Bonga, single entry.
Which site?
I play on Fan Team, they say. Only European fantasy site. Bonga is
Batum's a better raw point play
cheaper
than Bonga, if that's the question.
Yeah, Batum for sure.
All right. Moving on to Noah. Is there any value in Conley? Fanduel, 7,300?
Oh, yeah, man. Conley,
he's not sexy, but he's perfectly fine.
But on this slate, though, Conley at 40 is gold. Like, let's go.
Dean, Noah didn't ask if there was sex appeal with Conley. He asked if there was value with Conley.
But value could be sexy.
In the right light.
I am here to find my bride.
Like a bunch of DFS players, we're talking about value as sexy. Kevin asks, DK tournament, Kennard or Bogdan?
Oh, let's go Kennard.
That was not a good one, it seems like.
Yeah. I trust Kennard's minutes, though, and I feel like he's got a better shot tonight. I mean, Bogdan's okay, but, yeah, let's go Kennard on that.
By default, Kennard is sexier than Bogdan. By default.
Ryan asked, DK tournament, Randall or Capella?
DK?
Yes.
Capella.
Have to choose between your babies.
Well, you use the injury news to your advantage. Like, people don't want to play Capella today, coming off an injury. You know, Randall's too expensive. Like, either one's going to be fine, but let's go Capella.
Mr. Eman asks, is it okay to fade Cousins on FanDuel?
It is.
I believe we were talking about that. Eddie Robertson, or Robin Lopez love.
I don't want to cut anything off here, but Anthony Gill is starting. Do we care that Anthony Gill is starting? That's interesting, at least. He's 3K on DK. Robinson not
great.
starting.
I don't care. Jerome Robinson off the bench, give it to me.
All right. Well, let's see. One more maybe for the road. Gonna find a good one. How many Clippers can we play?
Which site?
RC
Depends what site
player.
you're on.
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's say DK.
2 at the most for me on DK.
All right. Josh asked FanDuel tournament, O'Neal or Bonga?
O'Neal.
All right. And that's going to take it. So go ahead and bring us home, Dean.
Yeah, stay tuned to 7:40 precisely, give or take, depending on how much we're scrambling. We're going to be doing the card stock after lock. That's Chiefs, baby. Happy to join yourself and Tambo and Jeff from SCI. It's going to be a good time talking sports cards. But if you guys want more information as far as this slate and your premium members, and hey, if you want to be a premium member, get yourself $10 off the first month. That link will go ahead and drop in chat for you guys. And everybody in chat, please hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications. We do appreciate that. Yeah, stay tuned for Andy Means. You got Kevin Raw taking you guys off to lock if there is some new scrambling. That said, thanks for watching. This was basketball. That was Chief. That was Devin. The Royal is clean. I was Dean. We're out of here. Holler.